Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back again to Myrtle Beach Living, the talk show that talks about everything from entertainment, dining, local businesses, and, of course, my favorite real estate right here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, you can always reach out to us at todd@toddcartner.com or by calling 843-246-7474. And today I am glad to have with us South Carolina District 56 Representative, Mr. Tim McGinnis. How you doing, Tim?
I think I'm doing okay, Todd. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine. It's
awesome.
It's kind of interesting that I'm interviewing you now.
Well, that's right. That's right. I sat in your seat for a few years.
Several years. You absolutely did. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from originally, and your family and that kind of stuff.
Well, I was born outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a little town called Washington. We left there when I was a child and moved to Savannah, Georgia, where I was raised, and eventually went to college and started a family. And my wife is a native Savannian, so I like to consider myself about 3/4 Southern.
There you go. That'll work. So I know as a TV anchor, you were here in this market for several years, and I worked with WPDE, and you covered a lot about politics. So is covering politics kind of what got you into being interested in serving as a politician here in the county or in the state?
Sure. I mean, we, as journalists, couldn't show a bias, and but it was really a great opportunity for me to explore politics and to get to talk to people who, Democrat, Republican, didn't matter. I got to interview them, got to know how they think, and got to know a little bit about how the process works. So it was a valuable education for me. And then when it came time to make a decision as to whether I'd run, I kind of knew what I was getting into to a certain degree, but I don't think anything really prepares you for actually stepping into that arena.
Sometimes it's a no-win situation because you're only going to be able to please about 50% of the people 50% of the time, right?
Well, I've learned that I try to be a little bit more hands-on, and being a state representative, it's not like being a governor or even being a county council chairman or a mayor. As a state representative, I think I have a little bit more opportunity to actually get to know the people who I represent. And usually when you can have a conversation like we're having one-on-one, you can get a lot out of it. You can understand what the other person's thinking. The other person can understand what you're thinking. You can take their concerns to heart a lot more. But I think in this day and age of social media, we've turned into that polarized black and white society where it's this way or it's that way, and just because I read it on the internet, it's true. And this, that type of thing. I like being able to serve close to the people as opposed to not really hearing from them except for when they have a gripe or when they have something to praise you about on social media.
Right, and you brought up a very valid point. That's why I hate text messages, because you can't get the emotion that's involved in your conversation. So sometimes it comes across a little different. And speaking of social media, I am also proud to announce to our viewers today that we have now extended ourselves up to 8 different platforms that we stream live on. So we're in several different Facebook groups, as well as LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So when we're streaming, we're out there at 8 different platforms. So that's a huge improvement over what we used to have. So if you have a question for Representative Tim McGinnis today, you can reach out to us at 843-246-7474, and we'll get you live on the air. Or you can just paste your comments down in the section below wherever you're viewing, and we can answer those for you or try to get to them. Tim, you serve District 56, which covers most or about half of Forest Brook, all of Carolina Forest, and even out into 905 and even the 90
area.
And that area, especially the Highway 90 area and 905, is growing tremendously. There are so many subdivisions going out there. And I just wondered, is there any large projects in your district that are coming up that maybe the public's not aware of yet?
Well, statewide, we had budgeted in this year. There's going to be a lot of road paving. There are some road projects out in the 990, 905 area. The problem is we made that budget on March 10th, I believe was the day we actually passed our budget. We weren't even aware on March 10th that we were going to be experiencing a little bit of a cash flow problem brought on by the lockdown. So we're going to return to Columbia in the middle of September 15th to be exact, and we're going to have to hash out a new budget. In the meantime, I want to hear from my constituents. I want to know what you think needs priority from the state, from our budget as we move into it. We have a lot of needs. My area is, we're going to have a redistricting coming up before long, and I have a feeling that my area is going to be chunked up pretty good because I have all of Carolina Forest. I have the 9905 area that, as you mentioned, is just experiencing, growth that we've never seen before. And we're gonna have to pay a lot of attention to these areas as we move into the future. I think it's safe to say that when Carolina Forest was planned back in the late mid 90s, it wasn't really thought, hey, we're going to have this area that's going to be home to about 40,000 people. We need to plan now for what it's going to look like in 20 years. Well, we have that opportunity now to plan for what things are going to look like in 20 years. And I would really like to see the county get ahead of the game and the county council get a good plan for how they envision the growth and how they plan to keep up with the growth in that area. And then from the state, make requests from us, what you need from us to help facilitate that growth.
And, you mentioned a 20-year plan. It may be wise to make a shorter term plan of the 5 and 10 year because, the growth here has just gone crazy. And, I know that you and I haven't really had a chance to talk about this, but as a real estate agent, when everyone was kind of forced to be in their home and quarantine there for about 2.5 months, and I mentioned this on the show many times, but I'd like your perspective on it too. But we noticed that people were saying that my house is too small, I need something bigger. My house is too big, I need to downsize. But what we really didn't take into consideration was that all the people that were stuck in their home in the Northeast that vacation here so much, their thoughts was, well, if I'm going to be stuck in my home, I'm going to just go down to the beach and hang out in a hotel instead of being at home. And they couldn't because the hotels were closed down. So I have had about 11 calls this week of people that were looking to buy vacation homes here at the beach, not necessarily on the beach, but in the area so that they have another place to go as opposed to being stuck up north. And, have you seen any of that effect or has anybody talked about that effect to you in your district?
I've heard that. I've heard from several realtors, now yourself included, that people are from up north are definitely looking down here for the very reason that you have what happened with the pandemic up there. I mean, you think about the just the density of population. It's inevitable that when you have 12, 13 million people who live in the metropolitan area up there, that the outbreak is going to be much larger. The impact on hospitals is going to be much larger. The shutdowns are going to be more stringent, and it's going to get people thinking about coming down here. Because on top of that, you have taxes are just incredible. I mean, I don't know how many people I've talked to who moved here from someplace else who say when they went to sign at closing, they had to ask if there was a decimal point missing when they went down to look at their property taxes. We enjoy low property taxes. We enjoy a lower cost of living. We enjoy lower home prices. And that's going to attract a lot of people down here. And back to the 20 versus 10-year plan. When I talk about that, I mean that you have to look what's going to happen yes, we need to look at what's going to happen in 10, but we need to look at what's going to happen in 22. And the perfect example of that is widening of Carolina Forest Boulevard. This should have been done when the road was built, as opposed to 20 years later. We should have said 20 years from now, we're going to have 40,000 people here. So while we're building this road, and to keep costs lower, maybe a little bit higher now, but lower on the back end, let's think about providing the infrastructure now and then letting the developments come and take advantage of that until we need to go back and look at the plan again and then extend it out. So when I say a 20-year plan, I mean, we need to look at what's the end game, what's the end of this going to look like, and what can we do now so we don't end up at a point in 20 years where we need this done ASAP because we're reaching, critical mass.
Right. And, I've lived here a lot longer than you. I've been here for going on my 31st year. And I never in my life thought I would see a subdivision go up in Aner or Loris. And they're even going to Gallivan's Ferry, and you're right. That's not just your district. That's the entire county that they're going to have to prepare for these roads. And I'm seeing subdivisions go up on very narrow 2-lane roads, not just a 2-lane road, but I mean there's no shoulder at all on them, and there's a lot of homes that are right up against the road, 50 feet, and they're not going to have any front yard. So you're right, they're going to have to plan for that. So
look at you mentioned Aner and you mentioned Gallivan's Ferry. You've got Little River, you've got Myrtle's Inlet, you've got this whole area really bursting at the seams. And it was one reason when I ran, I was very much in favor of and continue to be in favor of impact fees to developers. And at first, I think that rankled some developer feathers, even some real estate agents' feathers. But once they thought about it and looked at it, I mean, we keep our taxes low to attract people down here. We don't want to raise taxes and put an extra burden on residents. But if a developer wants to come in and put in 1,800 units in an area, there's going to be an impact on the traffic. There's going to be an impact on schools. There's going to be an impact on public safety, on sewage, drainage. Right. That's why I was a huge proponent of the county going ahead and doing that. And fortunately, we have a law that's already in place that allows that. In fact, I like the law because it stipulates that the money has to be spent in the area where the impact's made in a certain amount of time, and also on certain things, which are all of the things that I just included, which contribute to your quality of life.
And I agree with that. I like it when a law has the stipulation of where the money can be spent as opposed to just throwing it somewhere else that has nothing to do with the project. So I applaud whoever wrote that law that they do it. And,
me too.
And I encourage others to try to do that kind of same thing. So, well, let's talk about this, the big elephant that's in the area, and that's the virus. How do you see that the COVID-19 has impacted not just your district and Horry County, but even the state? Because I know that it seems like the general public is thinking that we're just grasping at straws and trying to come up with solutions here and there and just throw darts at a board and see what sticks and works. And I'd like your perspective on that.
Boy, I said at the beginning of this thing that the way we respond to it, we can't really judge until it's history, because we don't know. This is a first time for everybody going through it. The actions taken by the governor, the actions taken by the president, the actions taken by our municipalities. I mean, God bless everybody who has to make those decisions, because they are difficult decisions. You're trying to manage public safety, our Constitution, and so many other things, the economic viability or just survivability when you make these decisions. So I constantly just pray that our leaders are listening to the experts and balancing what they're hearing from the experts with the Constitution, and moving forward in the way that we hope they would when we elected them. And that's a tough thing to do, because as you probably have learned in life, even though you said you've been here 31 years, so that makes you 32 years old, but as I've learned in my much longer life than you, Tom, you learn lessons throughout your life, and you learn how to deal with things. But nobody really has a playbook for this. And if there was a playbook, maybe we just never thought we were going to need it. I don't know. I just know that the people who we've elected to make these decisions, I hope that they're listening to the experts, and I hope that they're making the best decisions they possibly can. And that was my point, knowing in our long experience in life, or some longer than others, that you can't please all the people all the time. You're going to be, no matter what decision you're going to make, it's going to offend somebody on this side or on that side. So you just really have to, this is where you want to elect somebody who you can trust their gut feeling.
Yeah. And you're right. You got that anything that is out of the norm, you've got to make changes. You've got to adapt to those, and hopefully learn, along the way, that you can make things a lot better. So, I do want to talk about one of the bills that I've followed a little bit, and one that you have agreed to and signed with, and that's placing the limited protections for healthcare providers and businesses during the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and where do you see that going, and where does it stand right now a little bit?
It's a safe harbor bill, and it would provide limited protections to businesses and to nonprofits and things like that. I signed on to it when we went back up to Columbia, I guess it was last month, and very happy to sign on to it. In fact, if that bill didn't already exist, I was going to have one drafted, because it's important as we move forward that businesses that are already struggling, and I think this gets lost on people sometimes, is that when you talk about a business and whether a business succeeds or fails, you're talking about the however many employees they have. You're talking about single mothers, single fathers. You're talking about families, small and large, that are affected by the success or failure of a business. This is one thing we can do to at least ensure that some of these businesses won't get wiped out by a frivolous lawsuit. Not all lawsuits are going to be frivolous, but if you are taking reasonable action to protect your employees and your customers, you should not be subject to one of these laws, or subject to one of these lawsuits. And that's what I like about our safe harbor bill. It's going to, hopefully we'll be able to vote on that when we return in September. I wish we could do it tomorrow. I fear that, I won't pick out any of my co-workers up there. Are they co-workers? My co-representatives up there. But we do have an awful lot of trial lawyers that sit in the House, and I worry about the fate of the bill based on that. Not that any one of my friends who are lawyers would do anything against the bill, but I really think that this would be an important bill to keep businesses and keep families whole.
Right. Well, Tim, we're going to take a quick little break from our sponsor here and hear from them, U.S. Mortgage. And if you guys are watching and you have any questions for Tim, please feel free to put your comments in there or give us a call at 843-246-7474. And when we get back, Tim, I do want to talk about the education and where do you think the school system may be going, and get your opinions on that. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, guys. Every client is unique and has different needs. Whether it's a growing family, a first-time buyer, an investor, or someone looking to downsize, I am here to help guide them through the process. My name is Todd Cartner. I am a realtor with Exit Coastal Real Estate Pros. I serve Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area, and there is no place I would rather have my family call home. You need a realtor you can trust and will put your needs first. I want to become your lifetime realtor. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate, please give me a call. I look forward to speaking with you soon. All right, there. Thanks to our sponsor, and I see that Beverly's with us today, and Marilyn's there. Hey, Marilyn, I appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to helping you guys and answering any questions you may have. Type them in the comments below. Tim, before the break, we talked about the COVID-19. I know you're on the Education and the Public Works Committee. There is a huge concern for what's going to happen in the school year coming up. And I know that parents are, there's some parents that say we've got to send the kids back to school. There's some parents say that I'm not going to send my kids back to school. I'm hearing from kids, including my daughter, who does not want to do the every other day or the A-B block like they're talking. Where do you stand on that? What's your thoughts on it?
I can give you my thoughts. There was a subcommittee of our education committee. I guess this would have been an ad hoc committee, so one that I was not appointed to, but it was to look at education in the time of COVID, and they're making recommendations to the governor, to the superintendent of education. I think that this is I think any parent, myself included, who went through what we went through for the fourth quarter of last year, we learned quickly that our students, the teaching is a very tough job, and keeping your kids involved and on task. I have two kids, and they are like the tale of two different kids. One one just ate it up, was on Google Classroom every day, was on camera with her teachers and her fellow students, and just rocking and rolling the whole way through. Straight A's as always. Then there was my son, and he wanted to play video games all day, and we didn't, somebody wasn't there to constantly, are you keeping up with this? Are you keeping up with this? And sure enough, toward the end there, we had to get very strict and have to, take everything that wasn't nailed down away from him. So he would just pay attention on completing his assignments and getting through. And then you have, extenuating circumstances. Not all kids are created equal, and not all kids learn the same. And the school environment is very crucial to those kids, because teachers can modify and model how they teach to the students. So the governor, in fact, and that's why I was looking down at my phone. I just wanted to make sure I was getting this right, because this just came out within the last couple hours, that he's going to push for parents to have a choice whether their kids go to school or whether they continue the virtual learning. I hope that works out. Just on hearing it and not having dug into it a whole heck of a lot, I would say, it would make it challenging to staff the school. A lot of teachers are going to have issues coming back. A lot of them are going to be at risk. I think I just warned that we're going to have more to balance it's not going to be a simple solution that if you want to do this, you do this. If you want to do that, you do that. We have to have the systems in place to facilitate each child who goes through this. And when we look at Horry County, we have a lot of kids that live below the poverty line, and that's going to be it's a challenge to get them engaged, to get them to just go to be able to get someplace where they can get on the internet. But we're also very fortunate in Horry County, where we have a lot of kids that are able to take advantage and have the resources, if not available in their house, available nearby to them. They're kids in the rural parts of the state that don't have any access to broadband. And part of the South Carolina received $2 billion from the federal government to spend toward COVID-related issues, and one of them some of that money is going to go toward improving our Wi-Fi or our high-speed internet throughout the state, and that's something we sorely need here, so that kids can all be on a level playing field. Every kid deserves a shot to, kind of like the old Billy Joel song. Every kid deserves a shot to do it at least as well as his old man did.
Right.
And we need to make sure that we make that available to every South Carolina student.
Yeah, and you brought up two things I'd like to talk about there. Number one is Horry County Schools released a statement that over 450 students in this county have not been heard from since they were dismissed from school back in March. And that's concerning too. And they can't have the police department go out there. They don't have the resources to do that. The teachers don't have the time to do that. So that's concerning in itself. And the other thing is that a lot of people have not taken into consideration, not just the students, but the teachers were heavily affected by this as well. And I've spoken with several of them that are friends of mine that said that, it was new to them. They didn't know how to react. And the direction they were given from the school was medium at best, that they knew how to deal with it. And a lot of it was even teachers learning new technology that they haven't used. So it wasn't just for the students, but it was also the teachers. So it's going to be tough. When school
administrators, educators, parents, students all this was tough for them. It was having to learn how to set up a system that you didn't have a chance to plan for. It was really flying by ear. I mean, you look at the PPP that the government did, the payroll protection program to small businesses, that got money into banks in 8 days. That's an amazing feat. Amazing. But it goes to show what we can do as a community, as a country, when we put our minds to it. Look at what we did in World War II in just a short couple years. We built the biggest fighting force in the world. Well, we got a different enemy now, and we got to build a different type of fighting force, but we all need to get behind it. We all need to work on it now. And as a legislator, that's what I feel like I'm charged with doing, is finding ways that we can defeat the enemy while at the same time not getting injured here at home.
Right. I agree 100%. That's great. Well, hey, let's switch gears just a moment. I know that you're there at your business, you and your wife, Michelle, on the famous toastery in Carolina Forest. How has this virus affected you guys as a business?
Oh, nothing. Everything's fine.
I don't think that.
Sorry, just a little gallows humor for you. No, it's been very difficult. We've, from the mandates to not being able to take in revenue and not knowing where we're going to go, to opening back up, not sure if we could get employees to come back, to are our providers going to have enough of the product to deliver to us. In many cases they didn't. So it has been, to say it's been a struggle is to say the least. To say it's taught me a lot about how to do business in the future and maybe how I should have been doing some of the business all along. That's been the one bright spot from the whole thing. Business was doing, I've talked to several other business owners around the Grand Strand about this, restaurant owners, bar owners, and they say that, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we were getting back to where we were about 75%, in some cases about 100% back to where we should be. And then we had the spike in cases, the media reports up north, and now we're back down to about 50%. So it's a roller coaster. Just when you think that there's light at the end of the tunnel, you find out it's a train. I'm hoping, and I'll say this too, that in the beginning, a lot of people ask me, how's business? How are you doing? And I would say, today I'm doing good, but I'm not worried about today. I'm worried about 3, 4, 5 months down the road. And that hasn't changed. I'm not very concerned about tomorrow. I'm concerned about tomorrow, but I'm still more concerned about what do things look like 2, 3 months down the road. In my heart of hearts, back in March, I thought end of July, beginning of August, the virus is going to be gone because the heat's going to have destroyed it, or we're going to have, it's going to hurt immunity, all of these things. I thought we wouldn't be dealing with this by now. Instead, we're looking at increasing numbers every day, and our area being one of the fastest growing new cases per day in the world. That's not where I thought we'd be.
Yeah. Well, and it's the problem is that everybody's not on the same page, regardless of which side you're on or whatever. Nobody's doing, or we're not all doing the same thing, and that's affecting a lot of people. And I really believe that people just don't know what's going to stop it or slow it down. It's just a matter of a guessing game that is affecting all of us. And
there was promising news of a vaccine I saw come out yesterday. I hope that in the testing that they do on that, maybe by the beginning of next year, we might have something in the pipeline. I'll say this, I've seen the arguments about masks and about things like that going back and forth. I don't have one on right now because I'm probably 30 or 40 feet away from the closest person, but everybody in my restaurant, my servers, my staff, they wear masks. I wear a mask when I'm not in an isolated area. Is it a pain? Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people that I'm like a pig. I sweat in the summertime. So having that stupid thing on there and it gets all gross. But you know what? If it's gonna make, even if it does nothing, but it makes you feel safer and it puts your mind at ease and gets that stress off of you, my wearing a mask, I'm going to wear it. And I would encourage everybody, put the mask on. We've been awful enough to each other over the past several years as far as the divisions in our society. Let's wear the mask, even if you don't believe in it. Take it off when you need to, but there's not a grand conspiracy out there that I can see. It's what health experts are recommending. And my father was a physician. He was a Republican. And I can tell you that that was one of his biggest fears before he passed about 5 or 6 years ago, was a pandemic. He just thought that a pandemic was about the worst thing that could happen. And I know that my dad would be wearing a mask, so I'm going to wear a mask.
Right. That's very well said. The last thing is, let's just talk a little bit about the housing market, because that's what I'm involved in. But how do you see that going around across the state? Are you seeing the growth? And I've spoken with some realtors in Columbia and Charleston, and even up in the Greenville area, and they all say that we haven't slowed down. But it's not growing in the other areas that I've spoken with as much as it is here in our county. But are you hearing anything different? Because that alone is going to help the economy when all the tourism part has gone down. So,
I haven't heard directly from anybody outside of our area about this. I do have a lot of friends, both in the house and just that I've known throughout the years who are in real estate in other parts of the state. What I'm hearing is, it's a little bit tougher on the short-term rentals. If you own a property that you're renting out, it's a lot more stressful right now because people either aren't looking to book the duration that they typically book, or they want to book 1 and 2 days. I think like my business, like anybody's business, it's going to be a matter of adapting to the market conditions. Sometimes it's going to be, you're going to have more than you want with people coming down here, like we mentioned earlier, that just want to escape what's going on up there. And then you're going to have other times when they tell everybody up there not to come down here. So we're all just going to have to run our business one way one day and run it a different way another day. But for what I'm hearing from all realtors around here now, yourself included, is that business is pretty good, particularly here along the coast. I do hear Charleston's doing well as well. Hilton Head, I'm sure, is I'm not sure. They probably hasn't Hilton Head sunk into the ocean yet? How many people are on that island? I mean, I grew up in the Hilton Head area. And I covered it for a long time. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, Tim, thank you for joining us today. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your service as a public servant, serving District 56, which is my area as well.
Good.
And we greatly appreciate it. I wish you all the best at your business and all your future endeavors there, serving the public. And guys, next week I'm excited to have with us. I was contacted by a lady by the name of Sarah Eggleston, who is in Renton, Washington, the state, not the District of Columbia. And she wants to compare what our market is doing here in Myrtle Beach, all the way on the other side of the country in Washington. So that should be some interesting information. So we'll have Sarah on next week. And Tim, thank you again.
Always. Hey, let me ask you a question real quick. I got to ask you a question. Is that your home?
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah. Wow, you're doing well.
It is a thing called a green screen.
There you go. Okay. I was about to ask if I could come over tonight. You could play some songs on the piano and we'll kick back on the couch. And
yeah. So yeah, it's just lovely technology. How's that?
Very cool. Thank you, Todd.
At least it didn't show up as a green screen. You know all about that, working with TV.
I know all about that. Yep.
Lighting is the key. That's for sure.
Lighting is key. Yeah. Yep.
All right, Tim. Thanks so much. And we'll see you at your restaurant soon, buddy. And you have a great rest of the week.
Hang in there. Thank you for this, Todd.
Yes, sir.